Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 626. Released in August 23 on digital and video on demand across the US is Hostile Dimensions, a sci-fi horror that follows two investigative documentary filmmakers who find an ominous freestanding door that, when opened, leads them on a nightmarish journey through alternate dimensions. A found footage multiverse thriller that features innovative indie filmmaking savvy and engaging performances. Hostile Dimensions also marks the latest film from director Graham Hughes, who I'm glad to say joins me now on the podcast. Graham, how are you today?
I'm great, thanks, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I talk to indie filmmakers all the time, and I often find that the resources that they had at their disposal is kind of like their greatest asset. It could be all sorts of different things. Someone might have a car, someone might have access to a warehouse, even. In this case, for two films now, you have your flat. Your flat is a launching pad for a lot of your different horror movies, sci-fi movies that you had lately. How is it that in this case, when it comes to a uh, alternate dimension hopping multiverse thriller, that the flat became the basis of the movie Hostile Dimensions? Really curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, you're totally right. First, I've heard that kind of assets list being called the Rodriguez list before.
Mhm.
From like Robert Rodriguez's book, he talked about the same thing as like, write your script around the cool things that you have access to. And in my case, when I made Death of a Vlogger, my previous film, my flat wasn't really a cool asset, but like filmmaking is just so difficult on, well, in any kind of budget, but when you're working with such a low budget that even just having like access to a kitchen and access to a toilet and things like that, it's just the actual logistics of it. And you don't, sometimes locations pull out and you have to be really nimble at last minute. And you just know there's very much consistency with, uh, property that I own. So yeah, quite a boring reason from it, but I think that was also just the hook going into Hostile Dimensions. It's just anything to make the process easier. But because, it could get boring doing two films that are primarily set in the same location, the next thought was, well, how do we get out of the flat? And that's where the doors came in. It's like we can have the flat as the base, and then the doors can take us to more imaginative territory.
I read in the interview that you said when it comes to writing your screenplays, you said you're more of a set piece writer. You think about different scenarios and such, and that's pretty much the basis of your different scripts. So when it came to something like multiverses or alternate dimensions, um, how many different ideas did you have in regards to alternate dimensions and multiverses, and how many of those didn't make it into the script? I imagine you would have had just a whole spreadsheet full of just different ideas and scenarios, and I imagine as well, just depending on budget, access to different things, that what we see on the screen is pretty much ones that you can make a reality, as opposed to something that could have been just a little bit too far gone at the moment for you to kind of pull off.
Yeah, totally. And you're right about the spreadsheet as well. My friends always make fun of me because I think like the spreadsheet is the most powerful filmmaking tool. I'm just always like going on about them. But yeah, I had a spreadsheet full of locations and yeah, with the set pieces, it was kind of like again just a pragmatism of I um went on to Atlas Obscura. I don't know if you know that website.
I don't.
But it's worth looking up for your own area because basically they just have lists for locations all around the world that are just a bit odd. So it can be anything from as simple as like, a house of mirrors, all the way up to an abandoned like nuclear bunker. And it just has all these obscurities and weird things that are nearby. So I just looked up um, places that were within a driving distance of like our base at Scotland. Um, and just looked up things that were quite easy to access or like interesting or could like pose as other worlds. Um, and then that worked as kind of like a story prompt for, well, what should this world be? And like kind of helping with the set piece construction because you've already got a base of the location.
Interestingly, I'm sure with that Alice School, it will have led you to a place that no one ever thought would exist in Scotland, which is a spot with a pyramid. What's that pyramid all about, and how did you go about, finding that place?
Yeah, it's pretty weird because I've spoken to so many people since that live in Scotland, and they've never heard of it either. But it's part of a series of royal cairns, which I think it was Queen Victoria after um or rather, sorry, there's a series of cairns that mark the death of certain royals, and the one featured in the film is built like a pyramid. It's for Albert, who was Victoria's husband, and she was like so grief stricken she really like went all out on the on his cairn. Um, but yeah, it's just like these lucky finds. And yeah, there was a few other things like there's a ones that did get cut from the script. We filmed one, so we had one deleted scene that featured the god of podcasters, and it was just a bit tonally off for the film. It was maybe a bit too lighthearted, so we took that one out. But there was also a Western world, like kind of a Wild West type world. There was a backrooms kind of inspired place, but yeah, things that just didn't really end up fitting in.
And true to form as a indie filmmaker, you were in the US for like was it a wedding or something like that? And you were in Chinatown, like this would be another pretty cool thing. So you just ended up even on your vacation trying to get some set pieces in as well, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, just anything to up the production value. Yeah, we just I was there with my spouse for a different wedding, and we were just doing some sightseeing. And fortunately, they're very sympathetic to the filmmaking cause. So the two of us just went to Chinatown anyway, and I think we filmed the segment in like 15 minutes, just kind of like two idiots running up the road, one chasing the other with a camera. Um, but yeah, just anything to kind of like it was because it was like about multiverses and like other dimensions, and the only limit is your imagination. You can really explain away a lot. Like there's no wrong answers. So anything interesting that I was, you know, we shot some on the week before our wedding because we were going away to this Scottish island, and I was like, let's film while we're there. Like it just saves us from doing it another time.
The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by TeePublic. TeePublic is the world's largest marketplace for independent creators to sell their work on the highest quality merchandise. With over 1.2 million designs, TeePublic is sure to have something you will love. Another thing that came over from Death of a Vlogger was many of your cast, Joma West, Annabelle Logan, Stephen Beavis, a bunch of others as well. What's it like working with the same people again over multiple projects? Do you find you have a bit of a shorthand when you work with the same actors over and over? And do you consider it kind of like your cast to be kind of like the Graham Hughes troupe in a sort of way, kind of like how they used to have in the way back when they used to have kind of like traveling play companies go around the country. Is that what it feels like for you sometimes with when working with the same people for the multiple projects?
It does kind of feel like that, but then hearing it like that, it just sounds like I'm an egomaniac. Like,
No, no, I just think I just think you're really savvy and wise to know what you want and know what works, and I think that's really important to know that when you're doing especially indie filmmaking, I believe.
yeah, yeah, totally. It goes both ways though. That they understand the films that we're making together, and I'm always open to ideas. So I'm always happy for the cast to work in different ways. Like Annabelle's got a lot more training than anyone else, and is always like just really professional with her line reading. And Paddy is more of a kind of like comedy guy, and
Mm.
he's better with improv. He's like really good on the spot, so we just kind of like mix up the style. But yeah, we've got a fair rapport now, and it's like heartening to me that they come back because it's certainly not financially rewarding work.
Um, something I really appreciated about Hostile Dimensions was the humor in the movie. There are moments in the film where the humor really shines through. It isn't forced though, because what's really great about the movie is that your actors are putting these really engaging performances in front of the screen. And I think sometimes what happens in mockumentaries or found footage with films is there's a fine line between actors who try too hard to be natural, and then there's actors who just are able to just play to that type of type of acting, be as realistic as possible. And your actors really do that. And the humor, I think, comes from that because it seems to me that a lot of the humor is really um, uh, charismatic, is really engaging, it's really personable. How much of that is something that comes through in the script? How much is that are you allowing your actors to kind of just to play a bit with the dialogue and try different things and bring in their own kind of personalities to their characters?
Yeah, it's probably about 50-50 because there's even some lines that aren't written as a joke, but then when they're delivered, they're funny. As I said earlier, like Paddy's especially good at that, getting a laugh out of almost anything. Um, but yeah, I think my general rule of thumb is like I wouldn't put it. I'm glad that people do find it funny, and I'm not at all uh, like bothered by the horror comedy label as a genre. But I just didn't set out to make a comedy, and it's just that I just feel there's like comedy in life all the time. Like I don't know about you,
Mm.
but me and my friends are always just trying to crack each other up. So I would try not to censor that from the script to give it a sense of naturalism because it's kind of the way that the people I know interact. So I'm never trying to write a joke for them, but if something naturally comes out from the situation, then that's when I feel it needs to be kind of honored in that way.
And there's even a little bit of kind of like humor, kind of like sometimes in costume choices and such. There's this one part that made me laugh. I don't know if it's happened with other people as well, Graham. You're gonna have to let me know. So it cuts to a scene where Paddy is with the ladies in the apartment. He's looking at the door. He's about to step through. He turns around to the camera. He's wearing this shirt. It says peace on it. With the peace fingers up there, which I found very funny because if you go to another world, you usually say, "I come in peace," and there's this big kind of loud shirt that he has on there. How did choices like that kind of come about? Is that something that Paddy brings to? Is that something in the script as well? Is that something that's again a 50-50 scenario?
Yeah, probably 50-50. I've never noticed that as a joke, but I'm going to take that. I'm going to steal it.
Oh, I made me
Um,
laugh so much when I saw it because it kind of seems like
nice.
his character's personality as well. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
it seems that
No,
way.
that's definitely a happy accident. And yeah, it just sort of depends. Like when you said about uh, costume choices as a joke, it made me. I was like, wonder what are you gonna? Which one are you gonna say? I thought you were gonna say the Kansas hoodie,
Oh, right.
um, which again was just I studied abroad in Kansas. I just had that hoodie. And it was
Mm.
like, we need a hoodie for the character. And this is kind of, it was like a happy accident again, just being like, oh, well, that's quite funny. Let's just keep that in. But um, yeah, it's mostly just nice happenstances.
But on the other end, though, some of these characters, again, going back to Paddy's characters, when he and Annabelle are talking about possibilities of different worlds, can there be this, can there be that, can we conjure hell? They say, and then Paddy's character says, "Oh, this is it. This is our world. We're in hell right now." There's a very much a kind of like very kind of negative, almost kind of, I don't know if you call it nihilistic kind of a attitude towards what their world is right now. And they're seeking to try and find something better. But I think the lesson that I took from it, I don't know if it's something that you intended that, um, even though you keep trying to find something better, the world that you live in right now is your world. And if you want to make it better, it's up to you to make it better. Is that something that you're trying to convey through your film?
Yeah, yeah, because I wrote this at a time which hasn't got any better. We're just feeling very, very negative about the world, and it feels like we can't make any progress. That we're just kind of, in fact, not, the opposite of making progress. It seems like things are getting worse. I know things are getting better in a lot of ways, but everything's so complex and difficult to reckon with, and I just feel quite overwhelmed in the face of that, and just being one person and not knowing what I should be doing. Um, so yeah, the I think in the end, um, I'm hoping that it's subjective, but probably the film does it land a bit more on like stick it out and just do your best. But obviously presented the other two kind of ideologies, I suppose, which would be it's better to just make your peace in your own little spot and get as much happiness as you can and try not to worry too much about everyone else. Or the third option, which is to make life actively worse for other people.
Mm.
But yeah, I think we do kind of land more on the let's just all try and do our best.
The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Amazon Prime Video. One of the best on-demand streaming services available, Amazon Prime Video features exclusive Amazon originals as well as popular movies and TV shows. Watch Amazon Prime Video anytime, anywhere. There's a line in the movie, and I think it's my favorite line of the year so far. And it made me laugh so much, but it's also brought back a lot of conversations I had with filmmakers, such as yourself, Graham, especially indie filmmakers. And the line is, "You don't know existential pain until you produce the film." And it made me laugh because a lot of times when talking to filmmakers, there is just that process of like, questioning yourself and your choices and everything when creating art, especially art, and especially doing making art from the ground up. And I think it's a great line in the movie. Like I said, one of my, if not my favorite of the year, definitely one of them for sure. How much of that is just you just kind of like just venting in a certain way to say, you don't know what it's like, to question your place in the world until you try to create something in that world because, the character of Sam and Ash, played by Annabelle and Joma, they are filmmakers themselves, and their first film about what was it about ceramic teddy bears or something like ceramic bears, I think it
Yeah,
was, antique bears.
yeah,
Didn't go as planned. I have a feeling that if they get the footage out there for their multiverse hopping exploits, it'll be much better for them. But yeah, it's such an interesting line. I'm just really curious about where they come from in regards to yourself. Is that just a way of you just kind of explain to people, hey, you don't know what it's like until you try to give birth to something in the world, and everyone else kind of like just keeps questioning it all the time, and in so kind of questioning you as you're the creator of that thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's so nice to hear because I agonized over that line, like really agonized over it because I wrote it and I was like, that's funny. But I was like, that is also so like self-pitying and meta and like maybe annoyingly on the nose. So it's nice to hear that it really worked for you because I'm still not sure about it. But yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
like I love making films. It's brilliant. But uh it's really humbling. Like it's it's so hard. So fucking hard. Like trying to get, first off, trying to get a script written and like not knowing if it's any good or that, and then having to find finance, which, in itself is harrowing enough, just takes years and years and years, and it's full of rejection. Then like the pains of production and all the mistakes coming back to haunt you in post, and then like trying to market it, and then it coming out, and then someone on Letterboxd gives you like a half-star review and it's like, this shite.
Mm.
It's just it is such a really it can be the best calling ever. It can be magical and incredible, but a lot of the time it is just painful and um humbling. Yeah.
Well, I think what it is a lot of times is that, if you try to put your stake of your worth in the opinions of others, you're never gonna ever find any type of solace in that. I mean, the character of Sam, played by Annabelle, she's someone who seems to me is searching for perfection, and it's going to be a very long journey for her because for me, perfection does not exist whatsoever. I
Yeah.
have two boys, and we have a saying in our home, which is practice is progress. We take the perfection out of it because you can never perfect anything. You just kind of move forward and better yourself if you can, and learn
Nice. Yeah.
lessons and such. And I think what you've done with Hostile Dimensions is that it's really interesting to me in that you're having your character step into these different worlds. Um, but interestingly, we kind of do that already, right? I'm looking at you through a Zoom window and you're in the other side of the world. And every single time we go online, and you're talking about right there more like the online experience. I was looking at a letterbox review or stuff like that. You're stepping into another world and sometimes into the minds and sometimes the cesspool minds of like different people online and such. And it kind of feels like in a certain way, when you open up a new Google window or Yahoo window, it's like we're kind of stepping through those different kind of doorways, aren't we? And pathways
Yeah.
into different places. I find it kind of very interesting kind of dynamic between the two.
Yeah, totally. And it works in like real life as well. Whenever you meet a friend or a family member or even a stranger,
Hmm.
you are discovering an entirely new world, like there's different textures, there's different emotions, there's different knowledge between all these worlds. So it's like we don't I feel like people don't really acknowledge that enough that there's not one we don't just live on one world. Like there's what 8 billion worlds now, just
Hmm.
everyone is unique, and yeah, we get to experience little chunks of them.
I read something that Hostile Dimensions is part of something called the 3/1 trilogy. I don't know if that's something that's real or something just as it's kind of internet stuff. And I imagine Death of a Vlogger is the first part of that. Hostile Dimensions is the second. If that is the case, what is the 3/1 trilogy, and is the third one something that is kind of you're working on right now, kind of brewing on? Have you got a spreadsheet open for that third part of the trilogy?
I do have a spreadsheet open for the third part of the trilogy. Yeah, it's the 3-1 trilogy. 3-1 is my flat number.
Ah, okay.
Um so that's where the first two films have predominantly taken place, and the third one will also have a this flat as a main location, and will be found footage as well, and will share a lot of the same cast as the other two. So it's a thematic trilogy as opposed to a story based trilogy. But yeah, sharing cast, sharing the found footage medium, and sharing the flat as a location.
You have to be careful, Graham, because when this movie comes out, and I'm sure, it's gonna just keep getting great reviews like it has right now, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. My review is going to be a positive one as well, to add to that.
Oh, amazing. Thanks.
When people start watching a movie and they watch Death of a Vlogger and they realize 3/1's your flat number, you're gonna have people standing outside your window in the rain like you were with your yellow rain jacket in the movie, and you're gonna be like, yeah, yeah, good on. That's what you're staring at. Um, I read also that prior to making this film, like you were kind of like working on a script with another one, right? And it was taking a long time to kind of like get together and such. And in this one, or kind of like filling the gap there. Is that what's next for you, going back to those projects and working on those before you conclude the 3/1 trilogy? Or would they be a part of the 3/1 trilogy?
So they wouldn't be a part of it. But yeah, essentially, I think I've got maybe four active projects that are like that could come good. And as I was saying earlier about the search for finance is just punishing and long. So there's one film that we're quite close to finishing finance on, but nothing's a certainty, and it could all fall apart any second. But that's something we could be shooting as soon as the end of the year. And the third 3-1 film as well is just something that I'm writing just now, but seeking, looking for opportunities for that. But yeah, just it's been having a lot of irons in the fire and just hoping that something comes good.
Well, I tell you what, Hostile Dimensions is one of those projects you had has definitely come good. I highly recommend everyone check out this film when it comes out August 23, on video on demand, on digital. It's a incredibly entertaining movie. It goes for what's 77 minutes. Really tight, really efficient. Really innovative in the way that you brought about these different dimensions to life and do so on a low budget. And that's something I really enjoy when watching indie film, especially in the horror sci-fi space, when people can be really innovative with their choices and bring things to life and do it in a way that's really engaging. And for everyone out there, again, Hostile Dimensions, August 23, highly, highly recommend people check out this film. It's gonna take you for a ride. It really is. And I really appreciate your time today, Graham. And when those next projects are up and ready to go, let me know. I'd love to check them out.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's really nice, man. It's been great chatting.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content.